Hello, hello.
Welcome. I was trying frantically to get my V4L2 loopback device working so that I could stream while I record it, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
That's fine.
Are you getting background noise from you folks, or is it? Because I'm weird noise.
Okay, I can confirm there is sound.
That's good. Are you using OBS?
I just use the Twitch Studio because it's faster to be able to set up and run everything.
It's OBS under the hood, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, I have OBS too, but my laptop doesn't like it as much.
Yeah, it consumes a lot of resources.
Yeah, and this is
I remember
also
having issues.
This is also a 5-year-old
Yeah.
laptop, so...
Yeah, so it's spinning up its turbines.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a student this week who was trying to do some data analysis on like a 6-year-old Chromebook. And the thing would just basically crash anytime you loaded in a data set.
You want an older laptop? Allow me to present this.
What is it?
This is my work laptop.
An HP?
Old HP. I have no clue exactly what it is. But
Cute.
yeah,
I bet the keyboard's nice though.
it's not terrible. It's seen better days.
Yeah.
Is everyone on the East Coast getting snowed? Still snowing in New York.
I can almost hear you saying something, Jeremy.
So people not hear me. I'm out in.
No,
I'm
it's
out
pretty
in the mountains.
staticky.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I might have to move. Hang on.
Welcome, everybody. Looks like we got some new people here I haven't met yet.
Yeah. A lot of new people. How's it going, everybody?
All right. How's that? Did I got rid of the background noise?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
So I'm in Manhattan at the minute. So finding somewhere quiet is not easy. So if you want to get us started, or anyone.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to show the agenda, I can.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm a little limited.
What's going on, everybody?
Welcome.
Hey, what's
Hey.
up? Long time.
Wow.
Wait a minute, I finally moved. That was such a nightmare.
Glad to see you back.
How to be back.
How is it already Sunday again?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. How you guys been?
Staying busy with school.
Yeah.
Sick. A lot of sniff. A lot of runny nose.
Oh yeah, how you feeling?
I mean, I'm fine. Other than that, just super tired constantly and a lot of running nose and congestion. But it's not. That's pretty much it. But I was
Oh, nice.
vaccinated, boosted, so I'm guessing I'm getting the minor version, which is great because I'm a big baby.
Which one did you have? Did you test for that?
Oh, no, I didn't. I showed up at work. It was crazy because we were finally going back to the office, and
Okay.
so I showed up to work, and the first thing they had us do was go to the cafeteria area where they have this whole COVID testing thing set up, stations. And so I tested, and I'm looking at it and looking at the instructions, almost like it's a pregnancy test. Wait a minute. Is this real? And I was like, oh shit, I'm fucking positive. And so I walked up to the guy. I go, is this positive? He's like, yeah, come with me, sir. I was like, okay. Walked out of there. Yeah. Good time.
I hope you. I'm glad that you're starting to feel better, man. So
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I had that
And
very
it-
same feeling when I got Delta last year, except mine was at Mobile World Congress Testing Center at the Fira Barcelona in Spain,
Oh my
which was
God.
a massive hall with 1,000 people being tested at a time. So that was weird. But
Wow.
yeah, you have my sympathy, man. I hope you recover fast. And this thing's no joke. Anyway, it's time. Welcome, everyone. Ahoy. Ahoy, ahoy.
Oh,
Boy.
All right. How many weekly meetings is this? What are we now? We're week 5? I've lost count. I missed last week's. I missed last
Start
week's.
putting it at the
Anyway,
top of the agenda.
yeah. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, new folks. Great to have you here. We start by going around the room and
This is week 6.
It's week 6. Thanks, Griff.
I was gonna say 7, but it's week 6 for the main one.
It's 7 for me and Dennis. But anyway, we're starting this week with we can choose high and low, or high and low, or high or low. I'm going to go with high because I just was being a spider in a huge sphere in something called the Shed here in Manhattan, where you get to go and lie on a net in a 65-foot globe in the pitch black dark, and the net vibrates and there are sounds. And it's one of those amazing sensory experiences. And that was pretty damn cool, I have to say. I got to be a spider for 10 minutes, and that was great. So, yeah, pretty fun. And with that, I'll hand over to whoever's next.
I just enjoyed the weather getting up to 44 degrees on, I think, last Wednesday. So that was a high point.
Dude, my SoCal. I'm so used to Southern California. I got here to Texas last week, and the night overnight we had 3 inches of snow, and my California ass is sitting there with my hotel room key trying to get the ice off my car. People are looking at me eating breakfast. So he's not from here. So.
So you go with a low, Dennis, scraping ice off your windshield with a hotel key
That's my
card.
low. Yeah. My high is I'm actually finally getting my room key for my apartment in about a week. So, yeah.
Congrats.
That's awesome, man.
Who wants to go next?
Okay, I've been keeping hush hush on something for a minute, but this is our new CRM for a niche that I've been working on. So, well, this is something that part of this is going to be for Pirate Radio. So, I want to. I still got to keep it a little bit hush hush, but yeah, we'll bring in Pirate Radio. Mr. JR knows what this is. But I'm kind of excited. It's been like 6 months of work, and we're still 6 months behind. Actually, JR brought a good thing. If anybody knows front end React or React Native or Flutter, let me know. I'm going to put up a bounty for Pirate Radio to see if anybody wants to help.
So I had a
Share
pretty,
high or low?
I had a pretty simple, straightforward one. I got a raise at work this week, and for once it
All
was
right.
slightly more than inflation, which is rare.
Nice.
Awesome. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I'll share a high and a low. A high is my app's ready, and the low is I have a dead hotspot that won't do anything.
Oh, congrats on the app, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. Going to be showing
always
off on
good.
Wednesday, we think. So, yeah,
That's
should be
great.
good.
It's always nice to ship something.
Mm.
All right, I can go ahead for a high and a low. High for the week, I'm past midterms, so all that stress and chaos is now over. The low is I am now on the officially on the back foot for trying to make sure I have a job once I graduate and getting my thesis finished, because I kind of just stalled on the motivation to write it.
Well, congrats on the midterms, man.
Thank you.
The other thing, you'll figure it out. I have no doubt.
Let me know if you need a LaTeX thesis guideline. I have some tech files that are useful.
Yeah,
Do you use tech, or is it just all Word?
most of it's just being written in Word because I have the data on the other laptop I held up earlier. That I got to pull the data out of Siemens LMS, but it's taken.
Good luck. It's a lot of work.
Anyone else want to share a high or a low for the week?
I'll go. So, high for the week. Took some time off yesterday afternoon, hung out with some friends. It was a good time. Yes, low for the week. Oh man, set up like an experiment and failed horrendously. Probably wasted 3 days, but that's how life is. What to do.
Well, on the plus side, TK, the beard's coming in nicely.
This is me not going to the barber.
Anyone else have a high or low to share? If not, we can get into the meat of the meeting.
So our Prominator is in, but he's driving. Try not to distract you too much, Russell.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm on the road. I'm actually on an Indian reservation, so just having to catch this one to jump on. I'm fairly new to the group, so I'm mostly lurking a little bit, trying to get the lay of the land.
Welcome, man. It's great to have you around.
All right, shall we get started on the rest of the meeting?
Do it.
All right, so progress check-in for the Mothership General Statement. We did have our first Mothership Council meeting. That was on Wednesday. We discussed the mission, which, Neil, if you want to take the lead on how we passed the mission, because you were the one who officially wrote the statement and had the proposal passed, you can go ahead.
Sure. So we ended up discussing it. Discussions went on for a long time. We learned some things along the way, that everyone's very passionate about this. Everyone has some very unique views sometimes. There's also some lessons to be learned around the whole really setting out what we're trying to do in these voyages, learning from doing these proposals. If you don't outline exactly what we're going to do, it kind of goes off into a bike shedding world. So we learned that we need to be way clearer with what we aim to do with a proposal voyage. So that was one thing from it. And just generally, everyone's really passionate. And it's nice to see, it's not a bad thing at all being passionate about something. It's just that can take you off into this bike shedding world, right? And it can make things take a lot longer than they should. But we got there in the end, which is good. I can't even remember what the mission statement is off the top of my head. Bear with me.
It's on the agenda if you take a look at the stream.
If
you want, I can read it for you.
Yeah, so we come up with the statement. The first few words are different. Every time you write it, it's going to be different. But the actual statement is empowering the growth and usage of community-run wireless networks and equitably rewarding its members. Obviously, we've written it, and I wrote it in the format the Pirate Radio DAO exists, because we were asking what the mission statement was. But the essence of it is, empowering the growth and usage of community-run wireless networks and rewarding its members well. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. I think we were all in agreement at least, which is nice.
I mean, I had no hesitation in voting for that. I had to take a bit of a break because I was a little burnt out, I'll be honest, and I'd just gotten confused in my own head. But when I came back in, dropped back in, and saw the statement as written out, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. Which proved to me that taking a break was exactly the right thing to do. Thanks to everyone for stepping up and doing all the extra work. It's fantastic. I mean, we're a community building wireless networks. The essence is there, and that gives us a foundation to do everything else. So, great job, everyone! Awesome, very exciting. I think someone had a question when we were chatting about how we sort of announce it. Has anyone got any ideas about that? I think we sort of said in council that Neil, we were going to let you take the lead on that, but has anyone else got any ideas?
I mean, in theory, we want to do a PR, right? We want to actually put a press release out there, in the language of a press release, more than just a paragraph, like what we were talking about originally, take some of that work we've done extra and put that in a press release, and just put something out, put it out on the website, Twitter, and probably a couple of YouTube discussions would be good. That's what I think anyway.
You can just throw it in the PR feed as well to just start getting it picked up by a bunch of places.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, if we could have put it out through the PR places, we need to get some capital together to put it through. I'm sure people can. Yeah, but yeah, sounds good, right?
It's like $100 to do it. I'll cover that. Whatever.
We really need to get the site started as well, so people have somewhere to go to read this kind of stuff as well. Maybe the wiki page about the mission as well would be good.
We did discuss. Sorry. We did discuss if you guys wanted to do like a WordPress, because disclosure, the form software can be implemented in there. It's open source.
Yeah, I mean, we own pirateradioDAO.com, so maybe this week something we can pick up in council over the next few days is, we'll just pick up setting that up, and it's pretty easy to WordPress is one of those things that's very easy for everyone to use and spin up and get going. I mean, I've used Ghost on personal sites, but WordPress is so much easier and more flexible. So if no one's got any objections, then we can go ahead and get pirateradioDAO.com set up in that way.
Okay, and does anybody? I have an empty hosting account. I can give JR access. I can give anybody who needs access. I'll hand it over to you guys. Cost.
Yeah, I think fortunately between us all, we'll probably all have some VPSs. Like I have 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll be fine on that front. But yeah.
If
anyone's got any thoughts or ideas, just through the week at any point, throw them in general, share them with anyone in the council, ping any of us. But yeah, if no one's got any objections, we'll sort of say that's what we're going to do, and we'll work with Adam Unite on helping to craft the releases. He's one of our PR pros in the crew.
There was a platform that I think Adam is the one that shared it. It was like a Kanban that I thought was really good for. It could be, even if we don't use it long term, it might be useful just to like start using it now, because already I've got a list of like four different tasks we just identified. They're all are going to require a bit of work and could be taking pretty far, like to the point of like requiring funding if you really wanted to put together everything in a really high end way. But I'm just saying that they're not trivial. They're easy for us to bootstrap, but maybe putting together a task list and a project list, and then being able to ask the community for help on those items. Maybe we should prioritize that.
Yeah, what was the platform? The Kanban? Was it Trello or something?
I'm actually not sure. I think it kind of looked like it was built with Trello and then tied into blockchain somehow.
Yeah, it was called D-Work, and it's basically a Trello clone. Oh, sorry, Kenny.
Mm-hmm. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it is the D-Work that he posted, I think. But yeah, it looked like a Trello copy just based on... it has integrations with Ethereum, I think.
Yeah, cool. I'll check for that.
So is anybody opposed to like me just kicking that off then? Like starting like one of those, and we can just give it a shot?
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Cool. We'll do.
Did anyone test on that platform?
No, but that's essentially what it looked pretty solid to me. So I'll put it together as sort of a test, but if it works out, then we can just continue using it.
Yeah, that's true. Because I remember Kenny set something up with I don't think it's a similar platform, but more user friendly platform. But no one could vote on it, right?
Oh yeah, you're talking about wait.
I forget the name.
What are you talking about? I forget.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that was me. I think that was me when I said
think,
that was squads.
Was that the squads?
Yeah, that was me,
Yes.
and no one could use it. It was easy to set up, but just didn't work.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was funny. Like the day after, they also published like some new live documents or something. So I don't know if it was just us having issues, but we should try it again at some point.
Yeah, I mean we could.
Yeah,
it seemed to be a good system.
Mm-hmm.
If we could get it to work, but we can use that and set up D-Work as well. While we're working through like getting a lot of these smaller things off the ground.
Yeah.
I think let's just go with D-Work right now, and then I think that's a pretty good choice. And then those things like squads are very early, very immature. I think further down the agenda we've got mention of platforms and stuff. So get to that conversation in a sec.
Move on to the next thing then. DAO Blockchain Status. Yeah.
I'd say so.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Keith.
Yeah, so are more people starting to think? What was it? Yeah, I was just gonna say. So it seemed like we had kind of settled on using Solana, but I think some people had voiced potentially some downfalls of that. So if anybody wants to speak up and say maybe why we should use like an L2 based on Ethereum, that might be useful. Because I think it was kind of dispersed across a number of discussions.
Yeah, I mean, just for my part, I'll say my piece first. I've been sort of reading around. There seems to be, in general, in this sort of services DAO space, where people actually have to do things and interact with the real world, that people are saying that L2s give you some more flexibility because they have ability to deal with multiple L1s. And it seems to be the goal of platforms like SuperDAO. Now, who knows how they will actually deliver on that promise, because it seems like a big lift to me. There aren't that many incredible L1 DAO platforms. There's a few, Moloch, DAO being one. There aren't that many as we've seen on Solana. There are some on others like Inch, various others, but there seems to be consensus building that L2 will probably be the way to go. But if we're only really doing governance to begin with, I don't know as it's that big of a deal. And it's more important to just get moving rather than get bogged down in what we do, and just find a tool that fits our needs best right now, rather than worrying too much about it, because nothing is compatible with Helium at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter. We're always going to come up against that particular problem. So, it really just comes down to what tool's going to fit us best, and that comes down to, right now, it's governance, and that's our major requirement. And after that, that's my input on that front right now.
Yeah, my talks with a lot of people over the whole Helium DAO thing and sub-DAO thing is their feeling with Solana as a blockchain is good if you're just doing governance on it, but the second you want to do things like cross-chain talking, it's slow and not possible. You have to go through wormholes. So the general feel there is Solana is not the right chain for Helium to do DAOs on. So they're going for the layer 2 solution so they can do cross-chain messaging. And it's kind of interesting to think, in the future, we might not be dealing with just Helium, right? We were talking about other networks too. So having that layer 2 solution where we can talk cross-chain is nice, but not needed, and it's not like we can't change later on as well with a vote. So...
It's interesting that that's the messaging coming out of Helium now, because that's not what they were saying at the latter part of last year.
Yeah, there's a few people with concerns in the group, and I basically stole them and said, "Look, I'm new to DAOs. How do you feel about DAOs and running DAOs?" And they were saying Solana is very slow and very rigid. It doesn't have any of that cross-chain messaging solutions, which really set it back from these layer 2 solutions. So there are better chains. I think one of them was Matic, was it? And I can't remember the other one.
Polygon.
Yeah, they're much better at it, and they have this hub structure where you can talk between the L1s, and it looked a lot better than what Solana would have to be done with Wormhole. So is that important right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it is. We don't want to drag our feet too much, so maybe we should vote the next week to deciding if there are any layer 2s that'll actually work for us right now. Decide by next week, Sunday, or whenever we talk. If we can't find a layer 2, let's just go with Solana since we already know it works. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
That's the way I see it too.
Tempo is more important than as long as it fits our immediate needs for the next few months, we're fine. It's a very fast moving space, and we have ongoing discussions with SuperDAO, which is an L2, and it's not clear exactly yet what their full proposal is. We'll find out through this week. So that's going to uncover a lot for us. It's unclear as to how mature their beta platform is. At the moment, it looks like slideware, but who knows?
I think that's a good point that you brought up too. I was checking out Aragon, which I guess has been around. Like all of this, I've only learned in the last few weeks, but Aragon I guess has been around for some time, and so their ecosystem is a little bit more developed. So there's several plugins that work with it. I think it works on a L2, a layer 2 as well, and so the fees are relatively cheap, but that would be a benefit to using a system like that versus like SuperDAO, who is newer. But the benefit of going with like SuperDAO would be like if they're if it were cheaper in some way or more efficient or has more features, simply because it's these are emerging technologies. So it could be worth going that route just because of that. So I'm not opposed to either, but I just wanted to point out like the benefit of going with a more evolved ecosystem as well.
Yeah, I think Kenny, would you be able to create a sort of a checkbox list of things that we absolutely need, like the sort of minimum, like whatever platform we choose, it has to meet these requirements up front that we can just
I think we
assess various platforms,
like that, right?
Yeah,
you had posted it maybe in the platforms. So yeah, we can get a Google Doc going for that, and so we can actually evaluate things.
Yeah. And then maybe next week, if we've decided, we can at least share that document and share how we made the decision. If we haven't decided as a group, we can assess that and people can weigh in.
Sounds good.
Is that request template? Is that the same thing as a request for proposal, or is that different?
It would be a proposal to council selecting the DAO platform. Pretty fundamental to who we are, I would guess. It's a tool, pretty fundamental tool. I don't know if anyone disagrees. I mean, it's a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh no, not at all. I just like wrapping my head around that.
Yeah, it's probably something that if we looked on the Caleb has done some great work with a few folks with TK on how we define what is consent and what is consensus. And I think that would fall in consent, but on that scale. But TK and Caleb should weigh in on that one.
Caleb,
go ahead,
DK. No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
He did so Caleb did the majority of the work. Okay, I just sprinkle something here and there. That's it. So you should take point.
I made a majority of the words. I don't know about the work. You did a lot of helping, and so did some of my own friends outside this group. But we're in the kind of early stages of drafting proposals to define how we model decisions to decide what kind of decision process to apply, and then defining those decision processes and what their requirements are going to be. So yeah, it looks like right now we're looking at maybe a system of passive consent, active consent, and consensus when absolutely necessary as a last resort. But yeah, this seems like it would fall into that sort of active consent. If there's a few people that say, yeah, that's something beneficial, we should go for it. But again,
Yes.
that's just stuff we're writing, so it hasn't been ratified or anything like that. I've put some articles on the forum for a couple of these things, but I don't want to push us to the next stage yet in the agenda if we're not ready.
Yeah, right now, like Caleb and we are trying to figure out like the best process. So because we understand the community is growing. So when the community is growing, there comes a point you can't get everyone's thumbs up for everything. If you try to do that, what happens is we are slowing down significantly in certain proposals. So that's why this kind of active consent comes into play. So let's say someone puts in a proposal, and if several people right now we are thinking if 3 people says, oh, I recognize this, then that basically gets the consent to move into next process. Now it doesn't mean we can't recall it. We can. There is those mechanisms in place, but this is basically to have 3 people go through it and then basically saying, oh, this sounds good, this should be something that move forward, and that gives the thumbs up to take it to next stage. So we should be we will wrap up it quickly and publish more put together things sooner. But in this case, with regards to platforms and stuff like this, I think active consent is good. If we see several of us think oh, this seems like a good thing, maybe we can take it to the next stage, because it is unrealistic to think all of us can go through all of these platforms and get thorough view. There might be people already here know these things, they have someone here might know about these platforms much better than me. So it seems pretty pointless for me to learn everything about these platforms to give my thumbs up. So if Kenny says, oh, this is good, I take it. Neil says, oh, this is good, I take their word for it. So stuff like that. So that's the thing. So active consent is the way to go in this case. So it can continue our momentum.
Yeah, and for those folks who are new, one of the things that we've always tried to achieve within the community, or something that we hold sort of quite important, is a bias to action. Is that we're always trying to be moving forward all the time, and that we don't get stuck, as a few people have said, bike shedding things. And we did grind a little bit on mission, but we resolved it, and we learned a lot from that process, and that was really helpful. So what will happen as we learn about these things is by doing. You'll find there'll be a group that deals with the DAO infrastructure that naturally kind of will take a leadership role, within the Mothership Council, and take care of those things, and that's already happening. Those things naturally happen, and we want to foster that emergence. That's the goal of the group, is to help make that happen. So yeah, cool. And if anyone's got any more comments on the sort of infrastructure side or recommendations on platforms. Oh, good. Forum time.
So I can talk about the forums if no one else wants to.
Yeah, I was going to say you're kind of the one who seems to be the most in charge of what's going on there.
Yikes. So we've got forums.pirateradio.space, where we've stood up a discourse instance. We've got 2 methods to sign up right now. You can use your Discord account with an OAuth integration, or you can sign up with email and password. If you want 2-factor as an option, you'll need to go with the latter option of email and password. I encourage everyone to read the Discord auth carefully whenever they use that for anything. This one will reveal your email address you signed up with, so if that's a concern for you, go the other route. And if you accidentally sign up both ways separately, we can always merge your account for you. Just send a direct message to the moderator. But we've got a few spaces in there. We've got the council where the Mothership Council is sort of deliberating proposals. It's a private space, but it's visible to everybody, so we have full transparency there. And then we've got a few other spaces for just hanging out, and I put one in a day or two ago for a workshop where we can bring ideas and drafts of proposals to kind of chat about them and develop them further.
It's awesome. Thanks for all the work on that. Yeah, the reason we had the discourse is because a lot of when we get into discussions about proposals or things like the mission, it's difficult to do that in Discord. Discord's great for certain things, but for sort of threaded contextual discussion, it's not the best. It's not what it's designed for. So, that's the reason for the discourse. So when it comes to discussing any sort of voyages, proposals, things like that, we'll do that in the discourse. Any questions on that?
Questions or feedback. If anybody has feedback or things they think we should implement, just let us know.
Good job on setting it up. It works.
Yeah, discourse is one of those things that the first spin up has a bit of a lift, but once it's running, it's a lot easier to live with.
Oh, it was nothing.
So I think that takes us to proposals and voyages. Who wants to go first?
Does no one have any voyages ideas? I mean, I was just to say, I was thinking earlier, this website spin up PR campaign is sort of a voyage, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So maybe that should be our first one. You know, someone takes the lead on that, goes away and does it in a voyage that doesn't need every member, like we've been saying, starts the site and the PR campaign as such.
Yeah, and just for anybody who's new here and hasn't read all of the lots of material we have out, voyages is sort of the word we're using to describe the individual projects that we want to take on with small groups. So what we're talking about is sort of, maybe forming a group of DevOps people to run web infrastructure. But a lot of the voyages we want to take on are going to be geographically local groups of people trying to reach out to communities in their area to expand coverage. So if people are interested in starting something like that or forming one of these kind of virtual teams that provide services, let's get those ideas out there and start talking.
Quick question, could it be used for, you say, to provide coverage? Say your area already has coverage, but you have a group of people in your area. Maybe they want to provide usage instead of coverage. Is that a possibility? Or is that a different channel?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to imply that was the only kind of thing. Yeah, I think we're also planning to try to get innovative solutions built and drive usage as well through these projects.
You should totally share your project, Static. I know of his project, but he's got a really good idea that he wants to start beta testing, and probably this group could help him do that in the ways of developing a service eventually.
Yeah, my name's Static, or my name's Tim, really, Tim Laws. I got into this not that long ago, 7 months ago, but I started developing a network where there was no miners yet. No coverage yet, but now we have it. That's why I asked the question, because now I'm onto the sensor side of things, and I'm working with local water companies here. They're private, water companies that supply ag water to farms and also supply residents with their drinking water. So I'm trying to get meters right now to run on LoRaWAN so they can check their ag meters that they bill customers with, and then also their customers eventually that are household customers, and just meter water flow, period. They want control, they want valves shut off, they want all that. But right now we're just starting with the metering side because it's easier, just uplinks, no downlinks, get a device on there, start reading their water flow, and then move on from there. But I do a lot of other small projects, soil sensors for there, because it's a development company. They're not just a water company. So they're land development. So they buy large pieces of land, put in infrastructure, streets, water, sewer, all that. So they have agricultural side of things as well, where they beautify the streets. They put palm trees up and stuff. So they have farms that they grow their palm trees on and store them until they need them. So they need soil moisture there. It's just a big project all together with tons of sensors. So
that's awesome.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You know, actual projects that push actual data were always a goal, but to get a voyage proposed for that this early would be fantastic. In terms of how we start these out, do we think it's probably best just to start a thread in the voyages in Discourse? What do we think, folks? Because we don't have a template yet in terms of a Google Doc or anything. So we should probably start working on that as the council. I'll put my hand up and say I can work on that with a few folks in council. But in the meantime, maybe we can just say that we'll start.
Hey, get out! I'm on the phone. Get out!
We'll start with starting forum threads. Does that seem a good place to start with right now?
And a Discord room. A Discord room is always good to talk about these things as well. Maybe voyage ideas or something under shipyards.
Yep.
Yeah, we can definitely add something under the shipyards for each of the voyages we want to go on. I can follow those and keep up with those to make sure everything's staying managed on the Discord side.
Yeah, and that's in the description for each voyage channel. Let's link the Discourse forum.
Yeah, we can put a message in there and pin it so that it can always be found very easily.
Nice. That's brilliant. Thanks for bringing that along, Static. Really appreciate it. I had a few just suggestions. I mean, obviously, you know, when I first wrote the Pirate Radio DAO post, you know, mining pools were there. I'd like to sort of open up ones for LoRa and for 5G, and really just to reach out to the community, start thinking about how we would create them, discuss with the community at large how they could be formed and operated, and just really start to understand how much interest there is out there, gauge the level of interest. Again, you know, everyone's probably pretty familiar with the idea of that, and we can start the channels on that. That's not especially new. But on the sort of newer side, something that came up and something that I think the community, the wider Helium community needs, is some kind of trusted marketplace. We've got a lot of people who either want to buy miners or sell them, whether they be Helium 5G or LoRa, whatever it is, and doing it via eBay, or I know Voscoin has a sort of offline forum. I'm not sure how they run that, but I know they do, whether they do it in the Discord or whatever. But it's pretty challenging, and there's a lot of scammers out there, which is not great for the community, because if that's someone's first interaction with a Helium network is to get burnt out of $1,000 by someone scamming them for a miner, it's not a great experience. That's not what we want people's first experience in the market to be. So if there's something we can do there to help that would be that would be great. I don't know if anyone's got any ideas on that.
Yeah, so I'd worked on a web app with some friends as sort of a host matching platform that might be able to be used as a basis for building something like that out. We kind of have an authentication system and some basic forms you can fill out. Not a whole lot more than that, but it could be a place to.
Caleb, what's that written in?
It's Python with the Django framework. I think I might be the only Python dev in the house, so in that case, it might not be a good place to start.
Yeah, it's like, God damn, if Python's like the only language I really just have not explored.
I noticed that when
all.
you listed them out. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, all the ones I don't know. Even Haskell.
Python's not too bad though to pick up, is it?
It's
Yeah,
not.
no.
It's like English with some syntax.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hard. I'm just wondering, maybe because I know a couple of us have seen Rust as basic like language that seems to be pretty universal across a lot of different platforms that use at least like Ethereum or the major blockchains. So I'm wondering if maybe we could find like some open source project out there that uses Rust that can give us the basis, kind of like what you're describing, Caleb, because like what you just described, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like the kind of like the skeleton, like the start of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Hey, Caleb. This is my first call in the community, but I've been working with DUI, and my software company works with DUI. We currently have a grant out for something very similar as to what you described, and we were actually planning on building it in Python Django, and we're Python experts, so you should definitely reach out to me. We're also currently developing the Helium Python library. So if you have any interest in checking that out or helping us with that, we'd be more than happy to have you help. We're hoping to like try to get a lot more Python community development in Helium by enabling Python devs with this stuff we're doing right now.
That's awesome. I'd love to help. I just sent you a friend.
So
Cool.
Maybe we need to change direction from Rust to Python. Is that what I'm hearing?
So Python is kind of low level. It's a good
I was
systems
going to say
language.
the barrier to entry on Rust is very high. Like not a lot of people know Rust in the development community, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think my big hesitation would be that the web frameworks in Rust, I think, are fairly immature compared to most other languages. Just because it's so low level, it took a while to get there.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Jess. And just picking up on the DY thing there, myself and Dennis Elmo, we've been talking with DY about something called the People's Rapid Deployment Network, which Dennis for a long time had a strong interest in helping communities who've been affected in natural disasters or any community in crisis, really, through his background in insurance. But and I've done work with ITDRC, which is they often get deployed. So in the aftermath of Katrina, or they were still in Puerto Rico actually, helping there deploying communications, whether it be in a residential centre, for people who've been evac out, and helping people stay connected, connecting compounds where first responders are working from, all those kind of things. Obviously, when these natural disasters happen, and we're getting more major weather events than ever now, communications get affected. In the US, there are rapid deployment networks. Unfortunately, what happens with those is they're deployed for first responders, and they prioritise first responders, which means that the community itself doesn't have a path of communication. They get second serve. AT&T have something called FirstNet, and you get bounced down the ladder, basically, if you're just a regular AT&T subscriber. So the People's Rapid Deployment Network will combine LoRa and Helium 5G with a number of different sort of platforms, everything from a sort of suitcase-sized Helium 5G through to something you can trailer in to provide wide area coverage. And we're working on a proposal to submit to DY on behalf of Pirate Radio. That would be a voyage. We'll design and create the first prototypes, test them in the field. That will hopefully will be ready for hurricane season, summertime.
So what's the aim there? Is the aim to go commercial, or is the aim to provide a framework so people can roll them out widely?
The aim would be to create a commercial system. One of the aims of DY, as I understand it, is that the grant is there to show that something is a good idea and commercially sustainable. So it's good for the community. It showcases the network in a positive light and decentralized networks in a positive light, but also as ongoing long-term use case. My other background is temporary events, and the same thing can be used at a music festival. It doesn't, the difference between a hurricane and a music festival is not huge.
The whole time I'm looking at Jess to make sure this is all right, and he's just put the thumbs up. So,
and then one of the use cases, it's another grant, is these guys. So one of the problems is for fire departments, when there's a big area that gets affected, let's say a tornado, okay, it takes out an area, right? They have to go every single house to make sure that people are okay. You have to go dig, and every minute lost, like let's say that house is empty, the next house can have 8 people stuck underground and with no power, with no nothing, no food. And, by the time it takes the first responders to clear out that one house, those people are sitting there. So these are just GPS sensors. They're waterproof. They're pretty rugged. Think of like Life Alert in a sense, but the unit itself has a ESP32 that actually sends off a Wi-Fi signal. You use your phone, you can connect to it. It has the ability to text one-on-one between the first responders. It tells you how many people are in the bunker themselves. So if you have 4 people and like 2 dogs, you can mention that. So if the first responders know, hey, this has 4 people, we only pulled out 3. Sorry to get grim there, that they can continue looking. If they're from all 4, they'll go on. A person can press the button if they actually need help, and then if they're stuck or something. If not, they can actually just turn it off, and then they'll know. With this is now more software, you can kind of like estimate a path on where it's went and which houses actually need help. So then we can give these to like first responders and different like events like IRTC. Jeremy, I forgot that company. Anyway,
ITDRC.
Yeah, something like that. Who's there? They can kind of for anybody first responders that have access to this system, they can see which houses need people.
We lost you, Dennis.
That's cool. I mean, one thing I would say is we probably need a voyage to work out something with funds. We can't chase DY for everything, right? We need some funds externally from DY coming in as well. So if anyone's got any suggestions on how we start with something for that, I think that would be a really good idea.
So I was supposed to actually put something before this meeting, but I was a little bit caught behind by work. So I will actually update. So there was couple of things we were initially discussing about funding. So some of the things was we actually make this utilitarian stuff that we can basically market to the community, and they can purchase it, and the amount of funding source we secure towards Pirate Radio DAO. So something like that would be great, rather than keep the community like that anyone can engage. At the same time, if someone wants like outdoor deployment kit or something like that, we actually provide that at a discounted rate. At the same time, get a percentage of like funding coming to Pirate Radio. So something like that is something we can definitely like explore. Another long term source of funding for Pirate Radio DAO would be the mining pools themselves. So that's another voyage that we have to like dive right in. Like how are we like establishing these so establishing a pool in itself is easy, but the question is how are we breaking down the reward structure, like how much is going to the person who's contributing the hotspot, how much is going to the person who's contributing the location, how much is going to the team that is deploying that particular hotspot and that particular like location. So there's like these little bit of like different layers of these things we kind of have to like put it in like pen and paper and figure out. And there was another thing, like, so Jeremy actually brought this up to Caleb and I some time back, and that is actually something that is very relevant to like our mission. So it's something called like impact pools. So basically, we move like, so we see like a lot of like these hotspots in San Francisco, New York City, like now even in like, Philly, they are so dense in like these small areas. They are not really earning anything. They are just like sitting there like on someone's like window, not doing anything. It's redundant coverage. Now there is certain level of usefulness from redundancy, but that level of like you do not need like 15 hotspots to like hex 8. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so the one of the things that we are thinking is maybe we can actually move some of these into areas that are actually like economically disadvantaged. So that way, not only we are like putting these things in areas that provide useful coverage, expands the network, but also some of the rewards goes to this community itself, so that way we kind of sticking with our mission, how to actually get these networks helping more equitably across the board kind of thing. So there it's a great idea, like so we definitely should like look into these kind of projects because that helps the network. At the same time, it does like greater good as well, that positive sum we always talk about. So the first thing would be like, we need one voyage to basically think about mechanics. How are we like splitting the rewards in these mining pools? Like after that, then we can figure out the logistics, because I think first thing needs to be reward split. Then we can think about the logistics afterwards. So I think that's something we could start immediately, because that's going to be something that we'll have long discussions on. So sooner we kind of start on that, more further we could actually get into it.
The one thing I'd say to that is I'd say launch the missions to fund the mining pools, right? To start them, one for LoRa, one for 5G, because you might want to reward differently for 5G than you would LoRa. So if you
Exactly.
set it up before those, you're kind of saying, well, it has to be for both, and we want to make sure we're not affecting each voyage, from the outside too much.
Yeah, I mean, speaking personally, I would say let's not set up any central mining pools. Let's make those parts of the geographically local voyage.
Yeah.
And then they
Folks,
make those decisions on their own.
I gotta bounce. I'm hitting the subway. Thanks everyone. I will catch up with you soon, and I will see everyone in council, Discord, forums.
Yeah.
See you
Take
guys.
Take care,
care.
Jeremy.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to really like dig down on that thing. So are we? So should we do like regional pools that way, like like any region that makes sense, so we shouldn't like randomly arbitrarily there's most likely a reasonable geographical thing that we can pick on and say, okay, for this region we have this mining pool, we can do this. Or something like LoRaWAN, we can have one single mining pool, we just shuffle things up, and depending on like trying to get the miners that we are moving to the highest possible like earning bracket, get that reward split evenly across the board. So that's the thing. So these are the things, because I feel like, people have like great ideas on this. So if we put up a forum, put up a post, what is that? Put up a thread on our forum to get people's ideas on this. We can, start looking at some of the initial things. What are might be the best ways to carry this out, and then start putting together more concrete doc about this, because this will be like, something that will be a continuous source of fun for radio, at the same time a continuous source of like, positive effect for the community and the expansion of the network. So I'll set the forum up. Okay, I'll actually do it today itself, so just to get some initial feedback from like, everyone who's interested in giving feedback towards like the mining pools, like how they think it can be structured, so that's like open-ended question, how they think it should be. And I'll put like, some initial prompt saying, okay, these are the people involved: person who's contributing the hots, person who's contributing the location, team that is like, setting up that. So I'll try to like, give some structure, so when someone is looking through it, they get the idea what are the different components involved in the process. But definitely, if you guys have any like, thought processes on how it should be, put it. We can kind of like, go through that whole thing and put together something more concrete later.
Yeah, I believe the thought process we had kind of discussed in the past was we'd have local mining pools for specific areas. That way you could have quicker response teams in terms of like installers and any maintenance that needs to go on. Then if your pool needs miners, you would then request it from the DAO as a whole. And then another pool that potentially has too many miners and they're trying to work on better distributing them would be able to contribute the miners to that local pool.
Yeah.
So just quick question on this mining pool. So I've been trying to make contacts as I've been deploying my own hotspots, and I've got contacts with people that have, let's just say, like 55,000 acres, right? So it's roughly, if you count the hexes in 55,000 acres, I think I counted up to about 100, roughly, right? So that's their own private land. It's a timber company, so they do use the land is in use, but it's not like homes, It's timber, it's leasing. They lease to hunters, so for hunting places, they lease two of those people. There's all kinds of uses, right? Some of it's reserve land, but I'm very good friends with the owners of this place. So like, if we wanted to deploy hotspots all over their land, is this something like what the mining pool kind of helps with?
Yes, definitely. So in this case, so what we are thinking is like, what you are basically saying, you are staking your location, So basically, yeah, so that staking of location is one component that we can, so anyone who is taking their location or access they have to a location, we will like, figure out, okay, this way they're going to get reward for that. And the hotspots, like, let's say like, you have this huge vast, like, extent of land, but you don't have like, enough hotspots. Maybe it's because we can't get from manufacturers or whatever. Now the people in like a very high density area, they can actually like, through Pirate Radio DAO, we can actually facilitate that coming to you. So that way, like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, instead of them earning 0.01 HNT per day, now by
Oh, okay.
setting it in like, yeah, the new location, they start earning more as well. But at the same time, you who only have a location, doesn't have a hotspot, you can now get contribution to the network and start earning like, rewards as well. So that's like the idea behind like the mining pool. So that's true. Definitely, a situation that you have would be a huge asset to a mining pool concept.
Yeah, so instead of getting new miners, you take the ones that are in overcrowded areas and disperse them to a location that has none, basically.
Exactly.
And then build your
Yeah.
own whole mining area that works better than if they were there in that super dense populated area.
Exactly.
That's basically what, okay, I understand it now.
Like
So
I live in the Southeast Michigan area, so I'm the victim of the whole Detroit overcrowding. My mining scaling whatever dropped again recently, So I'd be able to then say, I want my miner to earn more rewards than what I'm currently getting. I don't need the miner here at my house. I'm going to offer my miner to the DAO in exchange for some of those rewards, and then the miner would then be placed in the location that either that localized group is able to find, or if my own local group does have an area that would be able to better reward me.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where, like, so right now we are like trying to figure out what is like the framework we need to work on this. So yeah, let me start on the discourse, like, the initial like seedling to this. So we can start like, putting up some initial ideas there, and we can work on that. If it is a local level, like, these local individual miners, the mining pools that we are going to start, how are we going to like, determine that locality? Is it going to be like, based on states, like, because we kind of have to think kind of globally as well in this. I know most of us here are US, but at the same time, helium is like, around the world. So we kind of have to think about a structure that makes sense globally. Yeah, because like, with time, there will be more people from like, EU coming into this as well. So we kind of have to think about that as well, because we don't want to break the system later on to accommodate growth. So if we have some system that makes sense for everyone, we can just start with that. So yeah, I'll set that up. So that will be like, one more funding source for long term. And the initial one, we can definitely do that. I know we talked about that sometime back in shipyards. So offering some kind of a utilitarian product to helium community. That way, they actually obtain something that they can use to expand their to optimize their deployments, but at the same time we actually get like, a commission. So we can also do merchandise as well, t-shirts, caps, hats, like,
Yeah, Elon's just said the
yeah.
same thing. Why don't we just launch an NFT and we can all buy it as a member? It gives the DAO some funds to get going and just do the basics.
Now that's true, like, but the thing with NFTs, like, I think even like Jeremy was like, talking this with me on the side. uh with NFTs, most of the time, like, since like, that certain connotation that associate with NFT, it's like, almost like buying into this. So some people kind of like, feels like, oh, you have to like buy, like, that's the thing, like we were thinking. Yeah, if you're selling a t-shirt, let's say, like, it's a t-shirt, like you buy the t-shirt, you get to wear the t-shirt, that's it. It's your choice. You can come to Pirate Radio, you don't have to buy the t-shirt for the Pirate Radio, you can come either way. But if you like to like buy it, and if you like to rep it, get it, and some of that funds will help to fund the Pirate Radio as well. So I think the community is there, like, so that's why initially, like, I'm not like a big fan of giving like NFT, because it kind of forms people's that idea in their head, or they are trying to like, tell us nothing and get money. Like, I don't know, maybe
I
it is
was
just
kidding, by the way.
I mean, we had
I was literally thinking of it. I think it's a great way of getting some initial funds going, just some sort of offering. Maybe not NFTs, like you say,
yeah,
t-shirts.
we'd
or...
also talked about if we do like physical merchandise, have it come with an NFT. That way you're purchasing the t-shirt, but then you also have the NFT to go with it. And I mean, I already drew up one little piece of artwork in the past. I can send it to Parlay Text here in a second. But like I threw that together in like 2 hours. So it wouldn't be too hard for us to be able to go ahead and draw up another couple designs, or go with this one, and then just match that with t-shirts or other various items that could be more like physical real world.
There was somebody here who did the witches. Who is that?
Oh,
Was that
I
Adam?
think it is.
Talk about the crypto coven stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crypto.
I thought Jeremy was in on that.
Jeremy is in on that.
Could you
but
also
I think
have some sort of utility with the NFT, where it's like I don't know, some first Pirate Radio crew type of thing, where the NFT gets you that side of access? You just get like a badge or
there's a member in the Discord. He's very busy today because he's working on like a NFT Super Bowl squares. So I knew he wasn't going to be able to make the call, but he works with doing Solana NFTs all the time. And after I posted that artwork initially, he was already trying to contact me and saying, if you want to mint this as an NFT, we can. So if we do want to come up with a design and have it be like, first so many members or like the initial drop just as like a kind of utility that gets you into like a more private chat, we could do that. And he would be able to explain far better than I understand how exactly that would work.
But the thing is, like, we have to be careful with NFTs because we do not want to make it exclusive. Like, like we need to make the community accessible to everybody. So that's the thing. Like, I love the idea of a utilitarian NFT, but at the same time, what we are like trying to work on, it's kind of hard. So the best way is like, Griff said before, we could have the NFT attached, like, NFT that represents like Pirate Radio DAO, but with the NFT, you get actual, like, physical things. So maybe it's the outdoor enclosure, maybe it's an antenna, something that is actually valued, not overpriced. That's another thing. I'm very big on giving something to appropriate price. So NFT is just a bonus, but whatever we are like selling people tangibly, that people can get it for a good comparable price from us, and what we will get is a share from that for the Pirate Radio DAO. So we can definitely talk with vendors about this and work with vendors to come up to a good agreement for that. Maybe get like antennas or other supplies or t-shirts or whatever those things at a discounted price for us, and we sell it with a certain amount of markup. So that markup will be basically that initial funding phase. So that's the thing with the NFT thing. I like that idea, but at the same time, people can perceive it as gatekeeping, and we do not want to have that at the initial stage, initial 100 get this special access. No, either your initial 100 or the 1000th person, you have the same level of transparency across the board, same level of access that you can get to these things. I at least believe we should aim for that. Yeah, we shouldn't make people think that just because they can't buy something, they can't participate in this.
I like that philosophy, and I also think just from the artistic point, perspective, people being able to have an NFT from an artistic perspective that represents something that they believe in or want to be a part of, may be more powerful than we are even considering at this moment, right? I'm thinking everything you were just saying, like if we put together a really good proposal for the mining pool and exactly what would be needed for that, that's fucking incredible. I got chills while you were describing. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome, and can't wait to like help build this, because I think this is this is exactly what Helium needs, and it's exactly what a lot of decentralized wireless networks are going to need as they continue to emerge, because otherwise you have this centralization problem. So we're solving a really big problem, and we're doing it in a way that is really authentic, and I think it's really cool. And so as soon as we share that proposal with people, I think we could potentially drum up enough interest in PR and all of that, where people would be willing to just buy a Pirate Radio DAO NFT just to have it, just to be like, yeah, I want to have one of those. It represents something that's really cool and has real value and could potentially be worth more at some point in the future, simply because we are building something that is an idea that could potentially be very global.
Yeah, I gotta agree with most of what both of you said there. And I think we got to be very transparent if we do decide to sell an NFT that this is digital merch. Because we do have to ask ourselves, why do we want to do this? And it's, at least partly make some money, right? Why is there this much money available if you mint an NFT? And it's because there's a public perception that this is something more than digital merch. So I think we want to steer away from that just on ethical grounds. And I think we want to avoid creating like paid for walled off spaces. But if we want to sell it as a digital t-shirt, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that as long as we're transparent.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process was give the NFT away for free if they buy a physical t-shirt, and then because you can work royalties into the NFTs, should they decide to sell that NFT for any amount, the DAO itself can get a small kickback that way. That way, we kind of can double dip, so to say, but it's still, because we're giving the NFTs away to anyone who buys physical merch, you no longer have to worry with that gray area of you're spending money specifically for that NFT.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to handle that.
Geniuses. Jesus.
There was another DAO I was a part of that if you contributed any amount, didn't matter what, during that month or that time, they gave you an NFT at the end of the month. And it was just kind of like a thing. It didn't matter what donation point you did, but then every month was like a different NFT. So you can kind of collect them, and it's like a small, easy way for people to get in at any level. I don't know if that's another option. It's a barrier to entry is very low, so that way, if we're on some network like Solana, it's cheap transaction fees, and also the NFTs to send and distribute is also less costly than trying to send physical merch and someone having to handle that, distribute that, package it, ship it, because that does add up. It's not like a zero cost to doing all that. And creating a free NFT every month that you can hand out for any contribution level that you want to participate in. Seems like an easy way, and then you collect these cool NFTs, and it's just like these one-offs that happen for a limited amount of time. Say it's 1 month or 3 months. It's the same NFT, or they change every month. That might be an option.
That's a great idea.
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
And that was from I think I first saw that on SpiceDAO, where they bought the Dune Bible, because they were also involved in the Constitution DAO too. So I like that idea of like you get like if they had gotten it, everyone would have got a digital NFT copy of it. I think that's how it was supposed to work. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That would be a pretty good thing. Yeah, the main thing is like we need to like let people know like this is something that represents us. Like this, by buying this, you are like trying to fund this like community effort. That's the key thing. Like you're not buying this NFT to get rich in 2 weeks. Like I know like these are not like things people like to hear, but these are things people have to hear just so we can like keep integrity within the community when we are like doing these kind of fundraising things. So yeah, like so that's another thing. Like I can set up a discourse thread on as well, so we can set up like a couple of initial stage funding. Also, I'll set up the mining pool thing so we can get ideas on that. Then this initial level funding, like NFT like that, like any amount of contribution at the end of the month, you get an NFT for that represents the community, things like that people can have. And also, Jeremy has been talking with me about this Pirate Radio DAO enclosure. So it's like something with like Pirate Radio, like marketing on it, and he was like asking this from me. So that would be like something that people can buy basically to improve their hotspot deployment, but at the same time get a percentage from that sale to the Pirate Radio DAO. So another initial level like funding source. So that's another thing like we can look into as well. So that way we can have like access, a good utilitarian product out that's cheap for people to buy. At the same time, we can actually get something from that as well. So that way people don't feel like they are paying for nothing. They actually get something useful, but at the same time we get certain amount to fund our efforts as well. So I'll put a couple of those things out. So all of you guys can like I'll post the links on the Discord after I have them up, so you guys can go through it throughout the week. And next week we'll actually talk about what are the initial ideas, and I'll try to put together a doc before the meeting so we can all just have like a good, thorough, concise discussion about the overall effect when it comes to the mining pools and the initial funding phase.
Dude, we can
Gave
sell
us
pirate flags. Everybody just hooks them up on their antennas because you already have antennas. Oh.
No flags.
Yeah.
Everybody just flies the flag.
Yeah, that would be sick. That would be sick.
You know,
Jolly
my mom's
Roger
already annoyed
everywhere.
enough that there's an antenna on her roof. I could only imagine if I went and clipped a flag to it.
I think that'll be the first NFT, a pole with an antenna on it and a pirate flag.
Oh, that's
I can draw something up in
yeah.
the next week. I'm sure I'll get bored in class again.
Please do.
Because what's his name? Griff posted the parrot with the
Yeah.
flag, and that's where I was like, imagine just putting an antenna.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. One additional topic that we hadn't talked or discussed about in a while is legal. So I think as soon as we get to the point where we're like, all right, let's like, this is the plan, this is what we want to do in terms of either selling NFTs or whatever it happens to be. At that point is definitely like where we need to figure out legal representation. Like, okay, who can review this, make sure that we're good from a legal perspective and covered and all that.
Yep, we're going to need that so badly. Just so you're aware, mining pools are going to have so many legal repercussions. You know, who's going to own that hotspot? Who's going to be looking after the wallet? Who's paying the tax on it? You know, and who's making sure that those people are going to pay the DAO? You know, those things are huge.
Yeah.
These things so that's why there's that logistics part is going to be just. Then one thing is it kind of has a connection to that marketplace idea that Jeremy was talking about as well, because in a marketplace case, when you are transferring one hotspot to another person, to do it with transparency and good authentication, what you need to do is basically have the hotspot from the seller be transferred to a independent third party, so in this case Pirate Radio DAO. And once we verify that when someone purchases it, Pirate Radio DAO transfer that hotspot to whoever is the end user who's purchasing it. So in this case, that middleman is going to basically act as the escrow, for lack of a better word, because that's the only thing that makes sense in real world. So something similar to that has to come to mining pools as well. So it is definitely a deep discussion, and it's definitely something that both tech people, finance people, and legal people be involved talking in. The tech people, then how are we going to manage these multi-sig wallets to get the rewards at the same time, split the rewards at the end. And then the finance and legal, how to actually make this all so Uncle Sam doesn't get mad at us. So
Yeah, I think those are all really solvable problems too. Even so much as taking out the intermediary, which is Pirate Radio DAO in that example, there may be a way to solve that. I mean, that's the promise of blockchains, right? Is trustless interactions. And so if we can find a way to bridge that real world, we were already talking about how the wallet is tied to the hotspot, and so there's already a guarantee there because you can transfer it, and it then moves to the correct location or person or whatever. So there might be a way to do that, algorithmically or through software development, solve some of those problems. But it's not that they're going to be cheap or easy or any of that. But I think the first step when we get ready to raise money, however we do that, which is in the simplest way, it's going to have to involve legal representation even at that stage, right? So then there's also going to be all these legal questions that come once we start building and actually designing that end product, whatever it ends up being.
So I was also one thing to mention because TK brought up the Uncle Sam part. When we were in the meeting for the SuperDAO, which is the people new here, is the platform that runs the DAO, they were saying that they do recommend an outside country. You know, majority of us are here from the U.S., except like Neil, but they all recommend Malta, Cayman Islands, a couple other places like that. So we do also have to consider that.
Yes,
Like a tax
that's the
haven.
thing. Like so the issue, I have been seeing is like the amount of law around these things. There's actually no law. That's the issue. So for crypto, so since there's no law, like if they say something, like we don't know what to do, so it's like whatever IRS says, that goes kind of thing, since there's no legislature on this. So we do need to figure out before mining pools really come into play, how to set this up properly. And even before that, the initial phase of funding, like if we are doing an NFT or a merge, that flow of funds, how are we handling that flow of funds? We need to have a transparent process. So do have to I think register ourselves as some form of a entity, the legal entity that can hold outside bank accounts that can keep those funds. So that way, that is owned by the entity, that is managed by the entity, that is easier. So what we can do is first uh, this it's good these things came up in this conversation. We should first set up the initial things, what are the things we are going to mainly first start on, and then we can talk a bit about couple of legal people. So I can do that as well, uh, talk and see what is the best legal way. So right now the best legal entity that we can set up is a Colorado co-op. So which is basically we are in a sense a co-op, what we are trying to do with Pirate Radio DAO. So a Colorado co-op framework provides those legal entities where we can basically have this DAO concept applied in the real world with proper legal framework. And I think that was the only thing I could find online as well that is something similar to that. So I'll put that out there. So if someone is looking into it, well, it's called a Colorado Co-op, and it's something that made into legislature in Colorado. And if we are to do something, that might be the first initial thing we can look into. Okay, and at the same time, I saw the other day there was lawyer actually who joined the group. Maybe we can talk with him as well. Yeah, because he's getting into helium as well, and it can be a good exchange of information if we can talk with him and say what do you think about these kind of things. And also, if it's not the case, we can definitely go to outside legal firm or something like that and get some advice from them too. So a lot of things, a lot of important things, but at the same time, very complicated things. But we knew about this, when we got into this. So we'll work through it. So we'll initially, start off with the initial funding things and what are the main things we can start off with it. And next week, we can dive a little bit deeper into this legal framework stuff. So, Griff, are you making the agenda for next week?
Yeah, I can put the agenda together for next week as well, and then I'm sure JR will contribute it just like he did in the past week.
Perfect. Yeah. So just put a item for legal framework relevant to the DAO,
Yeah,
so we
just
can
make
just
sure you have all the discussions and everything you talked about today in the discourse for the forum, and I'll be able
yes,
to grab all of those tasks right off there by just scrolling through and seeing everything that's being discussed, and then I can make sure I include legal discussion as well.
perfect, beautiful. Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right, we're starting to get closer to the Super Bowl. Sounds like some of you guys got to be going. Is there any other final thoughts, comments before we wrap this up today?
Just briefly want to express my appreciation for everybody. There's just been so many different great ideas and work that's already been happening and gone into this, and it's just really cool to be a part of, and I appreciate all of it.
Yeah, I reciprocate that as well. I know I'm not the smartest in the NFT space, or in the DAO space, but I've learned so much in the past couple weeks just hanging out with all you guys.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad that we have a great group of people here, like, who's willing to put in time and, get things done. So thanks, guys.
Yep, I agree. All right, guys.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, whoever.
Yeah, all right. Well, hope to see you guys around in the future.
Yes, definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Catch you guys and see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
That's good. See ya.
Have a good one.